Now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com. Joining us now, our good friend from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, writes the Big Mac blog, and a lot of it has a lot to do with the Cowboys today. Mac Engel, how you doing, Mac?
Good, Bryan. How are you this morning?
Doing very well. Thank you for letting us bring you on to talk about the Cowboys post-mortem here. What did you think? What did we learn about the Cowboys last night?
I think the biggest thing I learned is the preseason's a waste of time. I mean, and I shouldn't say that. We had a pretty good idea the defense looked better, but I think you learned a decent amount. I think you learned that Tony Romo's probably gotten a little bit better. I think you learned that Kevin Ogletree, if given the opportunity, can do some things. I mean, I don't think he's going to do that all 16 games, but the fact that he could do it in one game is significant. I think we saw that the cornerback situation gives Bryan some more flexibility up front to be a little bit more aggressive. I think we saw some plays amongst the front three that none of us were expecting. I think Josh Brent looks a little bit better than we thought. Jason Hatcher had a nice game. Maybe Jason Hatcher, when he came into the league, was such a project because of his high school and college background. He was so raw, but he always had the body and then the motor, and I think he's shown some maturity and some development. I think we saw in the interior of the offensive line that there are problems there that they're really going to have to work at trying to compensate for in different ways. I think we saw that Jason Witten's is a total pro and totally committed to his job. I can't believe he did what he did.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy, but he did. I think we saw a lot of positive things, and I think we saw a New York Giants team that once again showed that it can frustrate you as well as any team in the league. I mean, Victor Cruz dropping passes. Eli didn't look very good. The rookie running back out of Virginia Tech didn't look very good. Wilson didn't look very good. They didn't look very good. The guy who looked great was Jason Pierre-Paul, and he made Tyron Smith look like a 15-year-old. Now,
he beat him like a rented mule.
He really, really did. But Tyron Smith is the youngest player on the team, and I still think he has the greatest upside of any player on the team. It's amazing to me the impact that team has on everybody's mood
Absolutely.
in this area.
Absolutely.
And so everybody's buoyant and joyous, and tell you what, though, if they go out in Seattle next week and lay an egg against Russell Wilson, to hell with all of them, I hope they burn the team down.
Yeah, you sound like a true Cowboy fan.
I do. I'm like, if you can go up to New York and win that game on Wednesday night, and then you can't go into Seattle. Now, it's a hard place to play. It's a long flight. If you can't go win that game, then to hell with you.
Hey, and on 10 days rest.
Right, and I even think about that on 10 days rest. So all the great feelings and good cheer, well-deserved, big pat on the back, across the board. You don't go into Seattle and win that game, then I don't ever want to talk to you again.
Until the following week when they win again. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
I know how it works. You know, the things that stuck out in my mind last night, for one thing, Romo throws the pick because there's pressure right up the middle on him, and everybody wants to hammer Romo about throwing that interception. But when you get pressure in your face coming right up the middle, that's what happens. I mean, and there's not a quarterback in the league that's not going to throw a pick in that situation. But Tyron Smith hustles his big butt off and makes a tackle to save a touchdown. And then the defense steps up and does something it didn't do all of last year, and that is stone the Giants and keep them out when they had 1st and goal inside the 5.
Yeah, and I really couldn't. I mean, I know that was a bad pick, but I have a really hard time faulting Tony Romo too much last night. There was a lot of pressure on him. They had to make some significant, and so did he, adjustments because the line just couldn't handle that rush for a while until DeMarco Murray got clicking. So even though that was a bad pick, I have a hard time killing him on it because he was so good on so many different throws and so many different plays that to me that you kind of, I mean, yeah, it was dumb, it was bad, but man, some of those, that throw that he made to Ogletree when Corey Webster bit on that double move there on the right side was a great play.
But you know what made that play though? It was Tony Romo, because when Romo had pressure coming off the backside, where again Pierre-Paul had beat Tyron Smith. Here's Romo. He slides to the right, and then he starts to kind of run. Just a little bit, roll out and run toward the line of scrimmage, and pump fake, and Corey Webster bit, and Romo puts it right where it's supposed to be. And I mean, Romo's not going to get enough credit for what he did moving in the pocket to keep himself alive and free to be able to make that throw.
Completely agree, because, I mean, his feet made that play. And he made some other plays where he had to scramble a little bit and run a little bit. But I do think we are seeing a guy who, from really, I think about week 8 last year to today, has just gotten better. And this was already a good quarterback, and he's just got a little bit better. And the problem that Romo faces, and he knows this, he's had games like this before.
Oh, yeah.
He's had moments like this before. He just really hasn't done it in December and January. So part of the equation is he's got to do it this September, he's got to do it this October, he's got to do it in November. Now, can he have a game like this in December?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he can. He hadn't done it before. So, I mean, this was a great sign. It was a great step, and that was a really fun, entertaining game to watch.
It's so huge because Romo had lost 5 straight times to the Giants. They win on the road. It's a division win. It's the season opener against the Super Bowl champs. I mean, I know it's only one ball game, and I'm not out here saying they're going to go 16-0, but just the magnitude of this thing because of who it was, it's a division game on the road. To win that football game was enormous. It's a great way to start the season.
Yeah, and I think, one thing, too, the Cowboys got that game out of the way early. I mean, that was sort of I know their schedule gets tougher, but it's not like they had to play this game in December 15th in New York where the weather could have been atrocious.
Sure.
September was 4th, 5th, I don't know what the date is anymore. And the weather was nice, it was pleasant, so that was not a factor at all. So that was kind of a break, and they took advantage of it. They took advantage of a team, too, I think that hasn't. The Giants are always sort of a little bit of a schizoid case.
Kind of like a team in Dallas we know about.
Yeah, the same thing. And so they're clearly not what they could be. And the Cowboys, to their credit, took full advantage of it, and they were the better team. They were the better quarterback. They had the better defense. They had the better skill players. They were better across the board.
All right, now the big question of this ball game, the most important thing that I have to ask you about is when can I get the job cleaning Jerry's glasses? That's got to be a well-paying job, don't you think?
It really is. It's funny how that took off. I had seen that on TV, and I noticed. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure everybody now, the guy who was cleaning Jerry's glasses is his son-in-law, a guy named Shai Anderson, and Shai's a really nice guy. Shai was in charge of the Dallas Desperados when that team was around, and Shai is married to Charlotte, Jerry's only daughter, and he's a good guy. And when I first saw that, I'm like, oh no, he is going to get hammered for this. This is going to be the A-Rod being fed popcorn by Cameron Diaz. And I
really felt bad for the guy, except for the fact that I know he's in the will.
Yeah, right.
I mean, at that point, I started feeling bad, and then I said, never mind. The guy's he's loaded for the rest of his life unless he screws it up.
You're like, you know what? I felt bad for him until I realized, God, I wish I was the guy cleaning his
Exactly.
glasses.
I mean, how bad can it be? Hey, sure, I'll clean your glasses.
And so, I didn't realize that was part of the responsibilities, but I genuinely feel bad for him because if you've met, and I don't know if you've met him, Brian, he's a good guy. He really is kind of a good guy. So when I saw that, I thought, oh, man, he is going to get hammered for this. And sure enough, that's what's happening. He's Deadspin, the big lead, and every place else.
Oh, man.
So people are having a lot of fun with that.
You just got to deal with your father-in-law. It doesn't matter what level you're on, man. Your father-in-law is just going to do stuff like that to you,
That's the truth. I mean, everybody's got in-laws, and you just sort of deal with it. In this particular case, you clean his eyeglasses and you get back on the yacht.
And probably, record-setting ratings for the ball game last night on NBC. So, the whole world saw it. And
absolutely.
He's going to deal. That's what he's going to be known for the rest of his life now, cleaning the glasses. All right. I want you to tell us about something new you guys have with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram that sounds really cool.
It is, Brian, and I do appreciate you having me on and allow me to give some of this some publicity.
Absolutely.
The Fort Worth Star-Telegram is just recently launched a very ambitious and pretty cool project for the iPad, and it is specifically for the iPad. You can't get it anyplace else, and it is a online sports magazine dedicated towards Fort Worth, Dallas, and Texas sports, and the publication is called DFWOT. It's $1.99 per issue. It's a monthly subscription. You don't have to subscribe to it. You can just buy it on the iTunes store for the iPad. Just go to the iTunes store and search for it. Just type in DFWOT and you'll find it. And I really do think, Brian, it is it'll be the way that sports journalism continues to evolve, especially for newspapers and regional publications. I think you're going to see more of these. These are in-depth stories. Some of them are quick-hitting. Some of them are long-form story journalism. In this particular issue, I wrote a very, very long story about Tony Romo and his entire career going back to high school, college, and the pros, and dissecting whether or not it's Tony Romo's fault that he hasn't won in the big game or it's something else. And because the internet is infinity, it's infinity, you've got all the space in the world, I could look at every one of his high school games, every one of his college games, and every one of his pro games and break them all down. And it's really, I'm biased, of course I wrote it, but it's a really interesting look at some of these games, and you do see sometimes, this is Romo's fault, and sometimes you see, no, this wasn't Romo's fault. And other things, too, it's very interactive. You've got sports calendars on there for the entire month at a time. You've got college breakdowns. You've got high school breakdowns. It encompasses everything that you would want in a monthly magazine, and the pictures are fantastic. I know iPad users, computer users now are used to these extremely high quality resolution photographs, and we have those in there. So if you do get a chance, or your listeners get a chance, go to the iPad, use your iPad, and go to the iTunes store and download a copy of DFWOT. It's $1.99, and it's a really neat, cool new thing, and I think you're going to see a lot more of it and get bigger as the technology changes and we become more and more familiar how to use the technology both as producers and consumers.
Outstanding. Well, we're looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it myself, and we'll check it out. So, again, you can go to iTunes, and you can buy it on iTunes, issue by issue, I guess. Again, the latest issue, the September 2012 issue, is out. I'm looking at the cover right now, and the cover has Tony Romo on it, and it says The Quest of Tony Romo, and I'm assuming that's the article you wrote.
Yes, it is. Right. And it is kind of neat because you do see a lot of his high school games and you do see a lot of his college games in there. Pictures from his high school days are really cool, but it is kind of cool to see that the game that he had last night against the Giants, he did it in Burlington High School. He did it at Eastern Illinois. That one thing that's missing, and it was the missing link in high school and college and now with the Cowboys, is that kind of game in January, or in that kind of game in the state playoffs, or in that kind of game in the Division I AA playoffs when he was at Eastern. And that's the one thing that's been missing. And sometimes it has been on him, and other times it hasn't. But he has been the constant.
And let me just put this into context for you. If you're talking about trying to determine whether you want to check out DFWOT, you spend $1.25 to buy some stupid song from Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen, okay? And you pay $1.99 for something intelligent, okay?
Yeah, that's true. And I've thought about that in terms of what $5 or $2 buys us anymore.
Oh.
And $2 doesn't buy us anything anymore. $1.90, it does, like... people are paying $4.50 for coffee without even batting an eye.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm guilty of it. It's not like you go to a restaurant sometimes, and I don't know if it's like that it's got to be like that in Tyler. Think about how easily we'll buy a Coke for $2.
Exactly.
A Coke, and it's crazy. And I look around, and it is amazing to me what we will fork over money for that costs nothing to make.
I give you Justin Bieber. That's all I got to say.
That's a great example. We will go pay $150 to go watch Justin Bieber abuse music.
God, that's awful.
So this is a steal. This is a steal. $1.99.
Hey, man, it is a bargain in any world you want to look at it.
Yeah, pretty much. So it is cool, and I think fans will enjoy it. So it's DFWOT, and it's in the iTunes store now.
Outstanding. Hey, Mac, thanks for coming on with us, man. I appreciate it. Good luck with the magazine, too.
All right, Bryan, thank you so much.
All right, good talking to you. Mac Engel, the Big Mac blog is on the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, startelegram.com, and now you can check out the iTunes magazine, the DFWOT, as well. This is Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM.